Are you suffering from a heavy pack? Do you constantly get made fun of by your friends when you're out backpacking? Well, good news, there's a ton of quick, easy, and cheap things you can do to instantly lighten your pack. Let's talk about it. Also remember, click that subscribe button. Even maybe click the notifications bell if you want to know when we go live, because we live stream all the time. You can check out our podcast, get some sweet merch. All right, how we lighten in the pack?
Okay, so this is a controversial video. Because if we're coming at this from the angle of I don't want to spend a lot of money, but I want to...
We're not coming at it with that angle. Maybe.
Well, I'm going to come at it from the first part of that angle.
Okay.
Let's say I don't want to spend a lot of money and I want to lighten my pack.
Okay.
Well, there's some things you have to have. You gotta have a tent, or some type of shelter, I should say, some type of insulation, you know, some type of vessel or stove or something to cook with. So your primary backpacking items, if you're not gonna spend any money, you're kind of stuck with those. And that's where most of your weight is, by the way. So if you're coming at it from the angle, I don't want to spend a lot of money, the easiest way to shed weight is to analyze the amount of crap that you're bringing. And when I say that, I mean clothes specifically. Like people, I'll make fun of my brother-in-law, and he brings like a fresh set of clothes for each day, and including sleeping clothes as well. He's not trying to lighten his load, but really understanding how much clothing you're taking, because that stuff is heavy. Clothes are heavy. Very heavy, actually, when you think about it. The easiest way to go after it is to tackle it with the clothes, and then also food, too. It's controversial with food. You don't want to starve yourself, obviously, and you want to have a good time at camp. But, you know, maybe you don't need the 24 pack of Busch Lights. You know, maybe,
are you sure?
Maybe you don't need the handle of crappy bourbon. I don't know. Maybe you don't need 12 mountain houses for 2 days. So there is opportunity in food weight, like things like bringing, like, I love this one. Yeah, I used to do this and it's delicious, by the way, but like we used to bring like jars of peanut butter, jars of jelly, and bagels to make peanut butter and jellies, which are delicious. But do you know how much that weighs? And so when you start tackling like some of your consumables and your clothing, you can really make a big difference on lowering your base weight.
First way you can instantly lighten your pack is don't take a chair. Psych! Always take a chair.
That was a test.
That was a test. See if you're watching. First, this is super easy. If you're someone who's using a bunch of stuffed sacks, this will save money too. Andy will appreciate this. If you're someone who just uses a bunch of stuffed sacks, ditch all those. Just take a trash bag and throw your stuff in there. That's a pretty easy one. Andy kind of talked about this. You know, he talked about a lot of people bring too many clothes, and they do, and clothes are super heavy, and as well as food. Another thing that most people bring too much of is they bring too much first aid kit stuff. So a lot of people will bring like super bulky, weighing a few pounds, separate first aid kits. I'm not saying don't bring first aid supplies, but if you're just going for a night or two, some Band-Aids, you know, some anti-chafing stuff, maybe some pills, ibuprofen, that stuff. That's all you really need. You don't need big things of gauze usually. You don't need ace bandages. A lot of that stuff comes in packaging too, which is really heavy. So you can probably save several ounces, maybe even a half pound if you kind of whittle down your first aid kit, because most people are bringing too much. And if you're going with multiple people, there's an opportunity there to kind of cut weight there, because you don't need to all bring first aid kits. You know, one between all of you would work. Yeah, Andy's cringing at that, but it would.
Self-sustainability is important.
Also, another way to easily lower your weight is go with other people and share gear if you can. That's things like sharing a stove, sharing a cook pot, that kind of stuff. I'm not saying, you know, don't bring your own stuff all the time. Don't get burned. Always bring your own water filter, but you can instantly lighten your pack if you share stuff with other people. Just
trust them,
and you know,
make sure they're in the same shape that you are.
Don't get burned.
This one we get emailed. I've responded to a bunch of DMs and emails over the years about this one. So let's say you have all the heavy stuff right now, and you've saved up some money. You got a nice little chunk of change that you saved up to invest in some ultralight gear. The common question is, which piece of gear should I replace first?
We do get asked this a lot.
to give me kind of like the best bang for the buck. So here are my thoughts. This is my opinion. I think a lot of people would agree with me. You're probably not going to want to tackle the pack first because you need to have the base weight to support like a lighter weight pack. So if you're not going to change out your tent, your sleeping pad, your sleeping bag, or whatever, probably stay away from the pack. The first thing I would replace is a shelter. And you can get the best bang for the buck as far as like weight to price for a shelter first, and then you don't have to worry about changing out the pack if you don't have the rest of the items to support a new base weight, that type of thing. And then you don't have to sacrifice any comfort with like sleeping bag or sleeping pack until you're ready to change those out too. So I would go after your shelter first to change that out if you've been saving up some money. And honestly, when I say saving up money, like ultralight shelters now are pretty dang cheap compared to what they used to do. You can get like some shelters for a couple $100, which is way different than what it used to be. Obviously, if you want some like fancy Dyneema stuff, you're looking at like $600 to $700 starting out. But if you've been saving up and you're not sure what to change out first, I would change out the shelter.
Easy way to shed weight too, this is falling into the expensive category, is you can get, they usually cost more, you can get more expensive versions of gear that are lighter. This is what I'm talking about. Things like headlamps, things like lighters, things like the Garmin InReach that I've got somewhere. They all make lighter, more expensive versions of all these things that will add up to a lot of money. Also things like saws, knives. You can get lighter versions that are just as good, they're just going to cost more. So I know all of these items don't sound like a lot, but this one, so the Garmin InReach, this is the Garmin InReach Mini. It costs the same as the regular InReach, and it is like a quarter of the weight. So there's opportunity there to instantly lighten your pack if you look for lighter versions of gear you would normally use.
So this is something that I still struggle with that we've honestly been working on, and this is water storage capacity, especially during the day. I'm lazy, Kevin's lazy. A lot of times when we're on trips, we like to filter all of our water in the morning and use that water for the entire day. So that means you're carrying over, more than likely, depending on like the type of hike you're doing and the temps and stuff, over 2 liters of water at a time. And water is heavy, like really heavy. And so we've tried to do a little bit better about understanding what water is available on the trails that we're doing, when we would encounter it, and then being a little bit smarter about how much water we're carrying in between water sources. Not being stupid about it, always making sure we have enough water, of course, but if we know that we're gonna be crossing a creek probably like every 4 to 6 miles, depending on the terrain and the temperature, probably don't need to carry 2.5 liters of water. Water is a huge one that you can really shave some weight. Obviously, you have to be smart about it. You have to understand your water sources and the temps and that type of stuff, so don't do anything stupid, but maybe spend a little bit more time analyzing your water sources, as we've started to try to get better at.
Another way you can instantly lighten your pack, this one's gonna cost some money too, is go frameless. And if you don't have a base weight to support going frameless, guess what? Get a base weight that supports going frameless. I know it's not cheap, but with gear nowadays, the vast majority of people in the vast majority of situations can get away with a frameless pack. And with a frameless pack, you're saving at a bare minimum a half a pound, if not more. And it's super easy, and they're just as comfortable for the most part on most trips as a framed pack. And it's a super easy way to just eliminate a few ounces right there. And especially if you're someone that's buying a new pack anyway, consider frameless if you have a base weight to support it. We've used frameless packs, total pack weights up to 25 pounds. It was mostly fine, and I would say that's a good rule of thumb for us, but that's an easy way to just instantly get lighter, is if you can take the frame out of your backpack. Another way instantly lose pack weight when it comes to buying new gear is take a look at your sleeping pad. A lot of sleeping pad weight varies greatly. Thermarest makes a 13-ounce sleeping pad, and Sea to Summit makes like a 2.5-pound sleeping pad. Most people are not gonna go winter or cold weather backpacking. They don't need an insulated pad. If you're someone who's shorter and smaller, or if you're a woman, you might be able to get a child-sized pad. Also, they make 4-inch pads now. They weigh more because they're 4 inches. I've been using a 4-inch pad. I don't know if a 4-inch pad is necessary. I have to deflate my 4-inch pad. So what I'm saying is, if you're getting new pieces of gear, if you're getting a new sleeping pad, you don't always need an insulated one. You don't always need a thicker one. You can instantly get much lighter by taking half a pound off your sleeping pad, because sleeping pads can be pretty heavy. And I honestly think most people probably don't need an insulated pad. If you're obviously going in the winter, you do. And most people probably don't need a 4-inch pad. And most people probably don't need a super long or wide pad. We do, because we're big. But you can instantly get lighter right there.
Well, so if you got thousands of dollars, you don't need to watch this video. Just go online and buy everything new. And then you'll have a really low base weight. Otherwise, I appreciate everybody watching. There's a wealth of knowledge out there in the community. Put it in the comments of what other things that you can do. You know, maybe some cheap, maybe some not cheap, on how to get those base weights down. And it really does make a difference, and it makes it a little bit more enjoyable out there on the trail. Don't sacrifice comfort, bring your chairs.
Yeah.